What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video I want to talk about the single player mode for the Halloween game. Now, we're obviously still a while away. I guess we're approaching 10 months away from this game coming out, but this was something that they actually announced on Halloween, which I very much give them credit for. Now, I saw it a little bit late, but I want to go over a blog post on their channel. They posted a trailer that kind of had the condensed verbal messaging to it, but let me just say, we're going to read the whole thing and exactly what this single player mode is. It's only words, okay? It's obviously not the visuals and like us playing it, but I am incredibly impressed with what it actually is. I was expecting something a lot more bare bones. I've talked about something along the lines of Friday the 13th, which, look, it's good to have these games existing outside of multiplayer. In fact, it's like the number one thing I want for these games is to have an offline mode or to have a single player type mode to go alongside it. But oftentimes you end up just getting go to the multiplayer map, play a mission, take out 3-4 NPCs and call it a day, right? Very, very bare bones, not really like Hellraiser, what Hellraiser is doing with its, full-on single-player campaign. We don't get that. And I would like to live in a world eventually where we can have that type of thing for a single player, and then maybe it actually has like an IllFonic, asymmetrical multiplayer type mode. I feel like that would kind of rock, and it would be the best of both worlds. So we're going to read it. I just did want to say, in the very beginning, what they're doing is far and away better than what I thought they were going to do. Okay, so let's read it. The Night He Came Home Reimagined. The iconic 1978 film hauntingly tells the story of a small child who viciously murders his older sister on Halloween night in 1963. After spending 15 years at Smith's Grove Sanitarium for his incomprehensible actions, Michael Myers plots his escape and begins his blood-soaked journey back to Haddonfield, Illinois. This is where our single-player story mode begins. Players take the role of Michael and experience the critical moments of the night he came home from an entirely different perspective. How did Michael manage to escape? What actually happened at Phelps' garage? And how did the truck end up abandoned at the side of the road? There are just a few of the burning questions that people will get first-hand answers to as the team aims to provide supplemental story content that complements the original John Carpenter classic. In addition to reliving unforgettable film moments with familiar faces, the single-player story mode in Halloween will also feature new locations and scenes, introducing our brand new cast of civilians who serve as playable characters in the game's multiplayer component. These reimagined Halloween story sequences are told through a series of defined single-player chapters with captivating in-game cinematics and gripping narration provided by Dr. Samuel J. Loomis. IllFonic remains committed to delivering a compelling and authentic Halloween single-player offering that matches the meticulous cadence of the original film, while empowering players to help shape the narrative to further exemplify the team's sandbox-driven gameplay goals and encourage replayability. The single-player story mode in Halloween will feature several difficulties, optional objectives, secret collectibles, and even multiple endings that are determined by the actions players take throughout their homecoming to Haddonfield. Beyond supplying fresh twists to pivotal Halloween events, the single-player story component of the game is designed to help prepare players to become the ultimate Michael Myers before they jump into the online multiplayer matches. The team is excited to share and show more at a later date, but for now, have a safe and scary Halloween. So, look, let me tell you, the ending there, that's kind of what I thought was going to be the only point of the single player, and I think that's kind of why it gets wrong or it's done wrong so often, because I think, and look, it's kind of the reverse of what we've talked about, say, back in the day, right? The late 2000s, early 2010s. A lot of games, obviously, were coming out where it's single-player heavy games, and there was this push to get multiplayer in them to keep those games alive, right? Keep people playing that one game versus going elsewhere. So what do we get? Uncharted, multiplayer, Mass Effect had multiplayer, Assassin's Creed, Dead Space, BioShock, all these games that really, and look, by the way, multiplayer actually became a pretty important part of some of these games and actually was quite good, but it came from the mindset of single player first, then multiplayer, right? This is actually kind of the reverse, and look, in those situations, you're never going to get them equal, okay? The multiplayer offerings of this game is what Steelphonic is good at, and it's what they specialize in, right? So I'm not expecting a single player story to rival Expedition 33, or even to be as good as the depth that the multiplayer would be expected to have. It's being used, I think, in a large part to get people to say, hey, maybe I want an offline mode, or hey, I want something I can play before I go into multiplayer. And that is important, for a lot of these games. You are thrown in, maybe there's training modes, maybe there's not, but largely like you're going in and you learn the game through playing multiplayer. Now I think that's, there's something exciting about that. There's a learning curve to that, and it's kind of, people do it, I do it often, but I think to have something like this to get used to it and then to be able to go into multiplayer, it's a good thing. And then also, again, it kind of shows you the mindset where it's like, yeah, multiplayer first, single player second, but that's to be expected. The rest of it, though, I mean, I read the whole thing, you heard it. A lot of depth there, in-game cinematics, that's interesting. Narration, okay. They're going to, it sounds like we're going to probably be playing through the first Halloween movie. So, and they say like notable faces, so we could have some pretty big names or pretty big characters on screen, as well as kind of padding it out, right? Answering some questions, doing some new stuff, new locations, new characters. I mean, it sounds pretty in detail. Again, far more than just, ultimately, will it be, hey, here's an area, you play as Michael, there's however many NPCs, and take them out in under 4 minutes, or, optional objectives like use this thing to take out this person. Ultimately, look, the game is the game, right? Like how the game operates, that's going to be the single player, it's going to be the multiplayer. They're not going to revolutionize anything. They're not going to give you brand new mechanics that are only available in the single player. But it sounds much more in depth. It really sounds like they're trying to replicate the movie and then add on to it and have that be the single player offering, which again, that is far, far more than I thought it was going to be. I'm very impressed by that. Again, it's words. We'll see ultimately if it's 5-minute missions and it's very hollow and it's just there just to kind of pad the game and to maybe say, hey, well, we have an offline mode. The thing is, I've always said I want offline modes. I don't want garbage offline modes. I want good offline modes. So, but it's definitely, I think, moving in a good direction. This is hopefully going to be, in terms of these asymmetrical games, has any of them had good single-player offline modes? I don't think we've had, one good one. We've had some, include it, but they're not, I don't think they're, amazing or anything. Maybe this would be considered, the first legitimately good single-player offering on top of what they normally do with multiplayer. So let me know what you think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.